Good morning. Shana Tova, everybody. Friday morning at 9:30, which is right after Yom Kippur, right before Parashat Haazinu. And we're very excited to be able to share this special shir together. And I want to thank Gershom and Rachel Dandy for sponsoring this special edition of the Kabbalah Café in honor of health and prosperity for all of us. First, thank you to Mordechai and Raya for broadcasting this shir live. The Parsha of Haazinu in general, especially this year, we learn it every day in the Chitat, but the lectures and videos are usually more around the Chagim, this week Yom Kippur, getting ready for Sukkot now. I think it's very appropriate that we put a little focus on Haazinu itself. Haazinu is a very interesting paradox. On one hand, it's called Shirat Haazinu. It's called a song. In fact, it says in the Torah that we have a mitzvah to write the song. Usually, there isn't really a mitzvah to write any part of the Torah except for mezuzot. Uchtavtam, you should write them on the doorposts of your doors and gates. But this is the only other place where the Torah says you need to write down this song. On the other hand, if you look at the actual words of the text of this quote unquote song, these are terrible curses, most of them, to the extent that in one of the curses it says, God forbid, I'm afraid to even say it, but it says in the Torah that Hashem may want to wipe out Am Yisrael, but because we're concerned, what will the nations of the world say if Hashem will wipe out his own nation? So then Hashem refrains from that. That's how bad the curses are. How could you call this a song? Can you imagine at the last parsha of Vayikra, Parshat Bechukotai, where the Torah writes the 49 curses, or a couple of weeks ago in Parshat Kitavo, we read the 98 curses. Can you imagine singing them as a song? In the shul, the Baal Korah, the Torah reader, he tries to read it in an undertone, a little bit quickly, and it's obviously something which is wanted, not desirable. But when it comes to Haazinu, over here the Torah says, this is Hashira Hazot, this song. What kind of song is this? There was a person recently who unfortunately went through many hardships. Unfortunately, even now, too. And he went to his rabbi who related the story to me. And he said, what does Hashem want from me? How does he expect me to educate my children in this situation? And the rabbi told him something which I think sheds a lot of light onto this parsha. The rabbi told him, the reason why a person can be depressed about a certain situation is because a person can view this scenario as being almost it, without looking at the whole puzzle. But if we're able to look at the different experiences in life, some good and some not that good, from now on, hopefully, it will only be revealed good. But up until now, there have been different types of experiences in life. We have to look at it as a puzzle. One experience, even if it's not so good, it leads to a better experience. It's all part of a ladder. And that's how we're supposed to that's how we're supposed to view every scenario in life. If you look at the other curses, like in Parashat Bechukotai, in Parashat Kitavo, there are different points, one nothing to do with the other. But if you look at the Haazinu, you will see that it's one step leading to another step. In other words, the one scenario which could be very, very negative, but it ultimately leads to redemption at the end of the Shirah, at the end of the song. And that's the message that Moshe Rabbeinu is giving us on the last day of his life. Moshe knows that Am Yisrael is going to go into Galut, into exile, firstly into Eretz Yisrael, then afterwards into Galut, and to experience many different occurrences. And so he wants to let us know that if you view the different steps in life as being all part of one unit, one successive point after another, then you have a different view of what happens. Even if there's something which is not so good, not so desirable, but the fact that it's part of one unit, hopefully that gives us inspiration and hope to be able to overcome different challenges and different hardships, because we realize it's not just here and now. It's part of a long-term plan, and B'ezrat Hashem very soon, immediately, it will be very positive. What we can learn from someone who was a Gentile, but he had an effect on every single person, I believe, in 2021, and I think continues to have, probably for many generations to come. Steve Jobs was the one who started and founded Apple, and pretty much the toy that you have in your pocket, whether it's an iPad or an iPhone, is thanks to him. He himself, a few years before he passed away, he gave the speech of his life. And he told his life story. And he said that when he learned in Reed College in Portland, one of the most prestigious colleges in America, after half a year, he didn't know what he's doing there. He was totally bored. He ended up dropping out of school. And he had to find Coke bottles to give to the store in order to get 5 cents. Until of calligraphy. Calligraphy, he figured, you know what? Let's learn different types of letters. Then, in the genius mind that he had, he decided that he could use these different fonts, these different types of letters as different fonts in a computer. And until today, billions of people are using his idea. Now, he said the following. He said that his conclusion of all of this is that the life of a person is a sequence of many dots, one leading to the other. And each one holds up the other. So if you're beneath the other one, you're holding it up. So it might be a negative experience, but because it's all part of one sequence, one lifetime, so then you have to realize that each one, in essence, contributes to the other. So the challenge is to be able to look deep down beneath the surface and to try to be focused on how each one is part of a larger plan. Did you know that in Chabad, there is a custom, and I did not know this until I prepared the class today, that it is a custom to say the Shirat Haazinu, often, whether every day, a few times a day, and it's a segula. This comes from the Maharal of Prague, the great tzaddik. It is a segula, a special bracha, a special blessing for hatzlacha, for success, and for long life. Did you know that in the Beit HaMikdash, every Shabbat, they sang Shirat Haazinu? So this gives a totally different perspective on how we can view certain chapters in life. We mentioned yesterday on Yom Kippur by day, before the sermon, in the beginning of the sermon, every person can look at yourself as going to a library and seeing an unlimited amount of books, and then you zoom in and you see how there's a book with your name on it. And here's the point that I'm trying to bring out for this context, that each part of your life has a chapter. And then there are a number of blank pages which you have to fill in. So not only are you part of an entire history up until now, but you're also meant to write the next chapters of your life, how you're affecting the world for many years to come, many happy and healthy years to come. So on one hand, the Shira, the song, is a short history of Am Yisrael, going through the difficult times that Am Yisrael had to encounter. On the other hand, what Moshe is telling us, don't believe the false prophets of the nations of the world that tell us, look, Hashem is upset at you. That's why he brings upon Am Yisrael hardships and exile. Moshe Rabbeinu says, no, that's not the truth. This is all being foretold. It's all part of a plan. In advance, Hashem wrote the Parashat Haazinu of what's going to be. It's very, very undesirable, granted. But on the other hand, it becomes a song. Once we view these different occurrences of all of history in the macro, or all of the events of our lives in the micro, as being part of one consecutive plan, story, book, then we can view it as being a song. I'd like to share with you a story, a very, very moving story. It's hard even to tell over the story, but this story brings out this point. Sukkot is coming up next week, Monday night. Exactly 52 years ago, on the second day of Sukkot, there was a terrible tragedy in Crown Heights. Rabbi Yisroel Goldberg, his wife was very ill, 40 years old. Unfortunately, she passed away with 5 little orphans. The family didn't even sit Shiva, because Shiva only begins in that scenario after the Chag, after Simchat Torah. But no one can imagine, no one should ever have to imagine the terrible pain which totally ripped the soul of each one of the family. Every year on Simchat Torah, Rabbi Goldberg used to go to East Flatbush, like many of the Hasidim do, in New York and around the world to make other shuls to dance with everybody and to bring simcha to many people. The family, especially the children, they figured, our father will definitely not go this year to East Flatbush. Poor guy. He's totally no words to explain how sad he must be. And so they said, you know what, let's wait and see. But the night of Simchat Torah came, and Rabbi Gansberg asked his mother to please dress the children for the Chag, for the Yom Tov. And he started walking with the children to East Flatbush to bring simcha to the people in that shul. All the way, it must have taken about an hour and a quarter, an hour and a half to get there, by foot, of course. And it was totally silent. No one knew how this is going to turn out to be. All of a sudden, just before they entered in to the shul, Rabbi Yisroel Goldberg, as if in a flash, got a new energy, a new neshama. And he walked in and he saw that they had already been dancing. He, with unbelievable kochot, energy, with unbelievable power, he stepped up above his broken heart. He took a Torah and started to dance with it, with out of the world kochot. He lifted the entire shul on its feet, and he brought everyone into the circle of dancing. 20 years passed, and on the eve of Simchat Torah, in the beginning of the 90s, the phone rang at the International Children. There was a wealthy Jew on the other side of the phone, and he said, I want to finance the program for children this Simchat Torah. The young person that answered the phone in Tzivus Hashem, he said, wow, that's so special. He gave him all the details. And he said, I just want to ask you a question. What inspired you to pick up the phone and to do this outstanding, to sponsor this outstanding program for children, which costs tens of thousands of dollars back then, over 30 years ago? And the person said as follows, I'm not a Chabadnik, but I have a memory that will never leave me. 20 years ago, I was 14 years old in a little shul in East Flatbush. There was a Chabadnik there that had walked from Crown Heights with his 5 little children. And he danced with the Torah with such great strength and might. So I told my father, wow, that guy must be really rich. He must have a great life. My father told me that this person became a widower less than a week ago. So I asked my father, so why is he dancing like that? My father answered, because today is Simchat Torah. And a real chassid is happy on Simchat Torah. And he's concerned, he wants that other Jews should also be happy on Simchat Torah. At that moment, he says, I decided that when I will have money, I will also want to do my best that Jewish children should dance in Simchat Torah. And now it's come my time to pay my debt, my promise. I'm not sure if we need to add on to what we just said. But let us suffice to say, to finish off this very moving Kabbalah Café, that the Hebrew word shirah, the root of the word is shir, shin yud resh. In Aramaic, it means a circle, like a chain, like a necklace, for example. And each one is a link to the other. And that makes one beautiful necklace or bracelet. And this also is obviously the point of what we've been saying till now. If we take every step in life and we don't focus on the external negative part of it, rather we focus on the pnimiyut, on the deep meaning of it, then it can become a beautiful bracelet. It can become a song. It can become a shir, a shirah. So it all depends how we choose to look at ourselves. This is true also for each and every one of our lives. Beginning of the year now. A year is made up of many days. A day is made up of many moments. And each one is interconnected with the other. And it's our challenge to be able to make a beautiful bracelet out of it, or to sing a song. I guess it might be a nice thing to finish off with a little joke. So there was a child that came home from school, brings his report card, and terrible marks. 40 in math, 50 in science, just one after the other. And then the father sees that there's one thing he got 100 in music. So he slaps this kid in the face. So he says, "Why did you just slap me? I got 100 in music." So he tells his son, "After such low grades, you still have the energy to sing a song?" So let's hope, Bezrat Hashem, that we should be able to sing the Shir Chadash, the new song. When Mashiach comes, Bezrat Hashem, it should be even before this Shabbat. We should not have any more galut, no more exile, no more suffering, no more pain. We should only be singing one big song, Shirat Haazinu, and we will see, perhaps, how our entire lives and the entire history was all part of one big song. Thank you for joining us. Tonight we're going to have Mincha at 6:20, and tomorrow morning we're going to have Chassidut at 9 o'clock, 9:30 is davening. Thank you very much for joining us. We're going to have a Kabbalah Café, Bezrat Hashem, next Friday morning, Chol HaMoed. Simchat Bet HaShoivah, a big celebration right outside in the plaza of the Great Synagogue with a big singer, Mendy Jerufi. You might want to look up his songs and singing on YouTube. And then Simchat Torah. We look forward to dancing with everybody. All the best. Shalom, shalom. Shabbat shalom.